Stick with me as we discuss a theory about the relationship with the Mandela Effect and Planet X. First off, let me start off by saying I'm not a Planet X expert. I really don't know much about Nibiru. I only really found out about it recently when people kept commenting all over about, hey, what about Planet X? What about Planet X? And they just wouldn't leave it alone in the comments section. So during one of my live shows, I said, we talk about anything on this show. And if you've seen my live shows, we're not afraid to tackle some pretty out there subjects. So I was like, all right, we'll talk about it. Because why not talk about it? I'm open-minded, and the Mandela Effect has really kind of shaken my reality. These things that I would have thought were ridiculous a few years ago, now it's like, what's real anymore? Yeah, maybe there is. Who knows? So let's talk about it. So what happened is, if you guys don't know what I'm talking about, there is a planet called Planet X. Now, this is not some sort of mystery, but it has been kind of swept under the rug over the last 100 years. There is something that is pulling on the orbits of Neptune and Uranus. And it's been known about for almost 200 or 300 years now. And at first they thought it was Pluto. So they did these mathematical calculations and located Pluto. And then later on, after they started getting better information about Pluto, they realized it's way too small to pull these giant planets out of their orbits. Something big had to be out there. So they've been searching for Planet X for many, many years. And a lot of people think that the government found it a long time ago and is very hush-hush about it. There's a lot of conspiracy about it. Zecharia Sitchin wrote all these books about, and papers and stuff about this planet being the home of aliens that come around every 3,600 years. And when it's on like the super big orbit, this planet will come by and really disrupt Earth and pole shifts, and there's just so much information. So I'm not an expert. You guys watching probably know way more about this than I do, and feel free to comment if you want to share what you know about it. But I'm only going to explain that basic part, because there's videos and entire channels that are way better at it than me. What's interesting, though, is I kept asking people, okay, what does this planet have to do with the Mandela Effect? And nobody could really give me a straight answer. A lot of people just wanted me to know about this planet. They were like, well, I just want to make sure you've heard about it, Doc. Or, in the comments, they couldn't connect the two. But then I got a really interesting email from one of my viewers called Sky Blu. And she had a theory, because I didn't come up with this. I got to give credit where credit's due. That I'm going to share the details of that theory but first I have to explain a big piece to understand that theory. Now, there's been lots of tests and skeptic arguments about the afterlife, and people trying to do scientific tests to prove if there's an afterlife. And most of them fail miserably. Like, you can't really prove there's an afterlife. But there was one group of researchers in the 90s out of Scole, England. And they called it the Scole experiment, basically. They're like a paranormal group that got together and started trying to communicate with other dimensions. What made them very different is they invited all these skeptics to prove them wrong. And these skeptics would come in and watch their whole thing, and they could never prove these people wrong. And what's even crazier is they had some pretty wild evidence that nobody else has seen to produce anything else like it. So one of the things that they would do, and this is a time before like digital cameras and stuff, they would put rolls of film out. And the skeptic guys that didn't believe them would bring the film in a locked box, stick it on the table, let them do their ceremony or whatever, and then they would immediately open the film and process it right there, and there would be like images on it. So a film out of a package that's blank film, somehow this communication from beyond is imprinting on this film, and they found like pictures, and then they started finding messages on these films, and like, very old English and German and Sanskrit and all these different languages were appearing on these films. And it was quite remarkable because at first everybody would have been like, well, that's all faked. But it was done under scientific conditions. So they're like, how is this happening? This doesn't make any sense. And they gained a lot of credibility that way. Everything they did was supervised. So during one of these sessions, they get this instruction. They basically put out a canister of film, and from one of their sessions, instructions comes across on how to build this machine so you can talk to spirits better, or talk to other realities. And they put together this machine, and I'm going to link this because there's a page that explains. You can actually build your own if you want. There's a page that explains this a lot better and the history behind it. And there's even some, I'll even link a documentary. It's about an hour and a half documentary on the whole thing. It's on YouTube right here. So somebody put it up. So I'm going to link to that too. And it's pretty enlightening stuff. You should definitely watch it even if you're a skeptic, because it's really interesting, some of the stuff they saw. I can't even explain it. So the reason I'm telling you this piece is because you need to understand something about this machine that was, I guess for a better word, channeled. It was the instructions came across on a photo from the other side. And on this machine, it's basically two coils of electromagnetic energy that are lining up kind of like magnets, and they create a field around them. Now, they're very clear to say it's not really electromagnetic energy, because that's what we understand, but they're talking that spiritual energy also kind of works the same way, although it's a little different. If you put these two fields next to each other, what happens is they kind of interfere with each other and create this little void. And in this void, it allows some really, I guess, a doorway that leads to other areas of existence. This they consider this void non-spin energy space. Now, this is pretty much my understanding, is this is created anytime two magnetic fields collide in just the right place where their fields kind of fuse together and create this little void. And when that happens, it makes it much more accessible to other realities to come across information. So they put a semiconductor crystal in that little space, and then stuck an amplifier to it and started recording messages that came out of there. And it was pretty amazing stuff, because in this little void that they created, they took some germanium, and which is like a semiconductor, put it under pressure a little bit. They like screwed screws onto it, and it allowed communication with these realms a lot better. They were recording like entire conversations with beings from other realms. Again, all this was documented under like the eye of skeptics. So this is a very weird case in a sense that it's really well documented, and no one's ever been able to disprove how these guys did it. So it's one of the most credible things out there. Now, the reason, maybe we'll have someone from the Scole experiment on, and we'll talk a lot more about that. But the reason I had to bring all this up was they feel like my listener Sky Blu had a theory saying, well, if information can come from this little void created by magnetic fields, what happens if two planets get near each other and their electro fields create one of those voids, like a giant void in space where basically another reality, and multiple realities. The information out of them would be pouring out, and that information would affect our reality. So in this picture here, you can get kind of an idea of the theory that there's this extra dimensional space, that void that's made by these magnetic fields, that if these planets got close enough, perhaps that's what's happening. Now I have to say the theory's really interesting, and it's the first one I've heard that actually ties anything to do with Planet X to the Mandela Effect. So thank you for that. Again, this isn't my wheelhouse. I'm just bringing it to you. If people come to me with good ideas, it's not my place to censor it out. I'm going to share them with you, and you guys can figure out, make your own minds up about it, because you're big boys and girls. So, if this rings true to you, be like, oh, that's the piece I'm missing. Or if you're like, it doesn't make any sense. But I do like this theory about these voids created by magnetic fields. And I think that maybe that needs a lot more exploration. And there's actually, I'm going to link that website again in the description. There's actually instructions on how to build your own machine. And I don't know if you could ramp this up or scale it up so you could actually make a large portal to get information, something big enough to stick a camera in or something. It'd be kind of cool. I think this is something that if I had the time and money and expertise, I would totally play with this. It seems fascinating to me. So I'd like your opinions on all this. And again, I know I didn't really touch on Planet X that well and all the conspiracies behind it. And I'm going to let you guys deal with that in the comments, because that's again, not my wheelhouse. But this idea that if that planet got close enough, that it could create that extra dimensional void space in there, that it's a really interesting idea. I never heard anyone talk about it, so props to you, Sky Blu. Thanks for the idea. Please leave your comments below and let me know what you think of this idea. Thanks, guys. Oh, one other thing is I have a live show on Thursdays. If you haven't had a chance, if you like talking about Mandela effects, and we go way past Mandela stuff sometimes, I have to admit, I just let it go. If you like a nice, safe place where you can come talk about these things without being called crazy and nuts and the conspiracy tinfoil hat guy, come on over. The water's good over here. Come on over and hang out with the community, and I will do my best to keep it a place where you can talk about anything. So I'll see you at the Thursday night show or over at the Discord chat. Thanks, guys. Oh, you know what I was going to say, right? Be positive, support each other, be nice to your cat.